Hello, this webcast is meant to introduce you to the online annotation tool DiigoAnnotationBasics, as well as to introduce you to some effective annotation techniques that you can use in conjunction with DiigoAnnotationBasics or annotations that you can use with a good old-fashioned piece of paper and pen. The first thing that you'll need to do is access the DiigoAnnotationBasics website. It's DIIGO, and you do need to set up an account. I've already done so. It is free. It does give you the option of going premium and paying for additional capabilities on the website, but you do not need to do that for our purposes. So take a moment and find your way to the DiigoAnnotationBasics website, set up an account, and you will need to download the DiigoAnnotationBasics software to your computer so that you then can upload the DiigoAnnotationBasics toolbar to your web browser. I'm going to use a nonfiction article regarding Native American literature from Encyclopedia Britannica in order to demonstrate for you the various capabilities that DiigoAnnotationBasics offers. So first I'm just going to go through the different icons that you see now enabled on your toolbar here so that before we begin our annotations together regarding the Native American literature article, you know what all the different buttons mean on your toolbar. So we'll start over here all the way on the left, and you'll notice a little indication that this is where you would open your DiigoAnnotationBasics sidebar. So if you click that, the sidebar becomes visible, and you can hide it by clicking the same button again. And you'll notice that there are already some page comments and highlights that I've attached to this URL. And what's neat about DiigoAnnotationBasics is that it connects the annotations to the URL. So if I were to leave this web page or to even close my web browser, and as long as I'm using the same computer and open up the same web browser, the DiigoAnnotationBasics annotations will still be there. So it remembers the annotation, it connects the annotations to the URL, and it's based on whatever computer that I'm working from. So you'll notice my annotations, my comments, and my highlights, I'll explain the difference in a second, are listed either as public or private, which means that if other DiigoAnnotationBasics users find themselves on this Native American literature website, they can view, as long as my comments or highlights are public, they can view those comments, and I can view other public comments as well, which is neat because it creates an interactive reading experience with other DiigoAnnotationBasics users. So when you make a comment or a highlight or a sticky note, you can indicate whether you want that to be public or private. And the little trash can icon allows you to erase a comment after you've made it. Now the difference between a comment and a highlight / sticky note is that the page comments are really just connected to the entire page and are listed in your sidebar in chronological order. So in whatever order I make those comments, you'll see the oldest comment on the very top, and then as I make more and more comments, a list is established. Highlights, on the other hand, are connected to a particular phrase or word that I happen to highlight. When I highlight a word, such as indigenous here, which I've clicked on to demonstrate the capability, you can also add a sticky note to a particular word or phrase that you've highlighted. So if you want to add a sticky note to a particular phrase within a paragraph that you're reading, you can do so. Or, as you can see indicated by this number 1 sticky note graphic on the left-hand side, you can also just stick a note to a part of the article itself, whether it be a headline. Here I just have it in a corner because it's a question or a thought that came up before I even started reading the article. Sometimes you might want to attach a sticky note to a picture. There are some images below the first introductory paragraph here that I might connect a highlight or a sticky note to if I want to. And I also want to point out to you that whatever words I choose to highlight, those words are also indicated on my sidebar. Now, once we're finished with our annotations at the end of this lesson, I'll show you how to collect all of these annotations. What they call it on DiigoAnnotationBasics here is extracting our annotations. And what's nice about this is it creates, when we extract all our annotations, whether it be my page comments, my highlights and sticky notes, and all of the words and phrases that I've highlighted within the document itself, I can extract those annotations and generate a separate document, which is essentially a page of notes that I can print out and use for study purposes. So that's the DiiGO sidebar. Next up on your toolbar is the drop-down menu where you can access your user account. You can choose to go premium from this drop-down menu, which is a paid service if you want some extra capabilities. This is also where you can access your library of outlines that you've created, previous DiiGO documents that you've created. Teachers and students, you can create groups, which makes it easy to collaborate with other people who are working on the same kind of research as you. You can connect to networks, bookmarks that you use frequently. Regarding the group and public annotation capability, this is where you would control whether or not you can view certain annotations made by other people. You can control which buttons you view on your toolbar here. You can import some bookmarks and seek help if you need to. Help regarding the DiiGO capabilities, of course. Next up is what I call the keyword search bar. So I have the phrase American literature typed into the text box here. And what DiiGO does, once I have words in my text box, I can then enable this keyword search capability by clicking the highlighter graphic that you see all the way on the right-hand side. If I click that button, anytime the word American or literature shows up on this entire web page, that word becomes highlighted. So all of the American words are highlighted in yellow, and then anytime literature shows up, it's in kind of that bluish green. So that's what I would call the keyword search capability. And you enable that keyword search by clicking that highlighter graphic on the right-hand side. Next to the keyword search, you have a space to bookmark where you save and tag this page to DiiGO. Now remember that you have to create an account and log in. So in addition to DiiGO remembering your annotations to a particular URL, as long as you're signed in, those annotations and any bookmarks that you save are connected to your account. So you can access those bookmarks and those annotations on other computers. Next to the bookmark button is your highlighter tool, which is where you would add persistent highlight to selected text and then save the selected text to the server. So whatever you highlight using the highlighter tool here, that's saved to your DiiGO account. So here you can change the color. Say I want to make some pink highlights just to differentiate, and I want to highlight the word contemporary American Indian writers. I would then click highlight after I've chosen the words that I want to highlight, and they're highlighted in pink. And as mentioned previously, I can then connect a sticky note to that word or phrase that I highlight. Many students think that highlighting is all it takes in order to annotate or to read closely and carefully or to take notes on something, when really highlighting sometimes can detract from understanding a text. Yes, highlights are important if you're trying to pay attention to the diction, the strong word choices, patterns in word choices, but effective annotations go beyond simply highlighting. So that's why I recommend after you make a highlight that you then generate sticky notes associated with those highlights that you've made. So next up is the comment tool where you can view and add comments for this page. If you double click your comment button, your DiiGO sidebar shows up where you can add page comments, which are general comments that are simply just listed in chronological order. You can also add a floating sticky note, not a sticky note that's connected to a highlight. I have a floating sticky note over here indicated by the little number 1 in the on the left-hand side of my article here. So that's the comment button. You can send your annotations through email to DiiGO friends, people within your DiiGO group community. If you have a blog, you can connect your work through DiiGO to your blog, Twitter, Facebook. DiiGO will also generate an annotated link that not only has a link to this particular page, but the page with your annotations on it. And you can also extract annotations, which I mentioned previously. If you click this button, which I'll do at the very end once we've practiced some of our annotation strategies, you can extract your annotations and DiiGO creates a separate document that you can print or share, and it's essentially a collection of notes that you've taken digitally. It's a very, very helpful tool. If you want to save a web page as unread, you would indicate that you want to read a page later. If you click that, it goes into your unread folder. You have a recently viewed folder here. You can add a filter. Add a smart folder for quick access and saving if you want to. This is another way to change your toolbar settings here. And then finally, that's the highlighter tool for your keyword search that I mentioned previously. So now that we've gone over all of the different icons that the Diigo toolbar offers, let's review our annotation skills using this Native American article. So remember, careful readers use caution, and effective annotations are relevant, they're numerous, those comments and conclusions are related to the text that you're reading, and the best annotations go beyond the text. In other words, the best annotations go beyond the textual content that you're currently reading and draws connections to other disciplines, other articles, other texts that you've read. I'm going to enable my Diigo sidebar so that you can see some of the annotations that I've already made. So in addition to highlighting some strong diction and keywords that I notice while I'm reading this article, I've also made comments and generated questions of my own that come up as I'm reading, and that's what careful readers do. We generate thought-provoking and relevant questions that we might want to bring up in class discussion, that I might want to ask my instructor, or maybe I'm looking for answers within the text. I'll generate questions that maybe I want answered by the time I read the rest of the article, or maybe I want to explore that question once I'm finished reading the article. Now notice here the first comment that's listed in my page comments is related to an analogy that's made here regarding the repetition of incidents. The article connects the repetition of incidents in a lot of the Native American stories to modern day advertising. And as a careful reader, I made note of that, not only because I thought it was an interesting connection to make and it made sense to me. I also want to bring that up in class discussion, but it also addresses the content-specific vocabulary of analogy. So careful readers pay attention to analogies, symbolism, metaphor, simile, personification, the strong diction. So all of those topics that come up in literature classes, in English classes, those are the kinds of words and that's the kind of vocabulary that a strong reader uses in his or her annotations as well. So as you can see, I've highlighted some sections of this particular paragraph regarding the characteristics of Native American literature that I found to be important. So the repetition of incidents, the fact that the Native American peoples are separated into two categories, the sedentary agriculturalists or the nomadic hunters, gathered around a fire at night. These phrases tell me as a reader characteristics of their storytelling style. Their literature style was based on oral tradition. So any clues regarding that oral tradition I've highlighted here. Another effective use of this highlighter tool is to highlight words that I may not know. So say I encounter a vocabulary term like aesthetic. Maybe I want to highlight all of the words that I want to look up in yellow. So when I go back through my notes, I know that certain words that I've highlighted, I want to define for myself. So that's what careful readers do as well. If there's a word that we encounter that we do not know, we look it up. So I want to show you an example of a comment I would make while reading this particular paragraph regarding the three major cultural regions of American Indian mythology. As I was reading this paragraph, I did highlight some details that differentiate among the different cultures in the American region. I noted that I'm going to add a sticky note that articulates my thoughts, that there are recurrent themes in North American, and as long as you know what your abbreviations mean, that's all that matters. These are your notes. Recurrent themes in North American myth that people are indistinguished from animals, which conveys that all beings have souls. So that was a conclusion that I drew from the details provided in this paragraph that I thought was important to make note of or to potentially share later on in class discussion. I'm just going to make a note of the supernatural and post my comment. I put that floating sticky note right next to where that information is found. And now let's extract our comments, our annotations, copy to my clipboard, go to my Native American Literature outline, and I can paste those extracted comments and print and share.